welcome to episode 1 of Late Night Ramblings. With this, I'll be rambling for about 45 minutes, so let's see how this goes. So, to start off this episode, we'll be talking about dreams. Now, for those of you who might know me in my personal life, knows my dreams are some of the most chaotic things to ever exist. And let me tell you, they're not wrong. Now, a very common occurrence in my dreams is when I'm able to tell that I'm dreaming. Now, it's this weird feeling where things around me just feel kind of loose and flowy, and I'm able to feel a bit more boxed in than I do in normal life. And in a lot of my dreams, I see this as a repeating occurrence, and it makes me feel like the world is smaller than it actually is. Which, to most people, it's fine, but to others, it's kind of, to put it lightly, it's infuriating. Especially because all of my dreams end up in roughly the same locations to each other every time. A majority of my dreams end up on the hill where my house is located. I'm either at my neighbor's house, who used to be really good friends with me in my childhood, or I'm in a trailer park that is located across from my location. And it's weird because most of my childhood was spent in these places, but to the extent my memory can say, like, per tiny detail, is absolutely chaotic. Especially since a lot of times my dreams are located also in my elementary school. Now, I am a college graduate at this point. I graduated with my associates, and I've been out of high school for a few years now. But to know that most of my dreams take place in my elementary school, where I was there for 7 years, is just chaotic. Because I remember where every single location, I remember the location of every single classroom, all of the extra buildings, the size of the cafeteria, the size of where the lunch ladies cook. I remember the lunch ladies. I remember the setup of almost everything. To the point, my dreams that are focused in this school are so accurate, it's like I was there yesterday. And it's funny because I will be in my elementary school in my dreams, but I'll be looking for a high school class or a middle school class or just randomly there. And the weird thing with that is, why is it set in my elementary school? In my dreams, I can even go outside my elementary school and know exactly where I am based off of the school design. I know where to go if I walk off the road. I've had dreams where something scary happened at my school. And in this dream, I went and I ran from my school to my house because I know the pathway to a T at this point, that it's just what I ended up doing. And it's the craziest things. Especially since in the school there was this giant staircase that had maybe 12, 13 stairs to a platform, and then another 12 to 13 stairs to get to the bottom floor. The upper floor had the cafeteria, the office, and then it was kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, including the nurse's room, because I should have added that with the other stuff. But all of that was on the first floor. When you go down to the second floor, you have all the electives, or the specials that we used to call it, such as music, art, gym, and library. And down in this hallway, I remember where we had locations to where there was a hallway that took you outside to the playground for the older kids, and there was a speech class in there that I never had, but I walked into that classroom once, and ever since then, I know what that classroom looked like. I knew exactly what was there. And then across the hall, I knew there was a storage area. And it's just absolute chaos. And to add to the fact, I remember with this staircase in all my dreams, I would always be able to do this thing where I would jump from the top of the staircase and I could kind of glide down both flights of stairs like it was nothing, and it was actually quite entertaining. These dreams are what taught me how to do this thing that I like to call hovering, where I would jump and I would pedal my feet like I'm riding a bike, and I'd slowly start to fly upwards. Because many years ago in my dreams, I used to not be able to climb stairs. For whatever reason, I'd go to step on the first stair and it would just slide down. Even if it's like a tiny three step thing where it's like the bottom stair is on the ground, the middle stair is like not even 6 inches above that, and then the top stair is connected to like a porch or something. I wouldn't be able to do those stairs. And it's one of those things where I never understood why I wasn't able to do it. To the point where in my dreams, if I knew something was chasing me or if I knew I was going to be by stairs, I would like ride on the back of people's shoulders so that I would be able to access these stairs, which had some of its drawbacks, but I did what I could to my best of my ability with this. Another thing that seems to always happen in my dreams at this point is the switching of points of views. So I know for the majority of the dream I am myself, but occasionally my dream will shift and I know I'm a different person even though I'm in my body, more or less. So I'll be walking around and I will know exactly which plot I'm supposed to be doing as in whoever I am, I guess you could say. And sometimes I will just be walking around doing my own thing in a dream, and next thing you know, I'm somebody else. But I will be talking to myself even though it looks nothing like me. So I've actually had conversations with myself as a different people in my dreams. Like we'll be in like a small group and my brain will be able to jump back and forth through all of these people to talk to each other to set up whatever plot it is. And a lot of the time these characters could look just like normal people, and it's like I've seen these people, but I haven't. For instance, one of my best friends has appeared in my dream multiple times, but they never look like they do in real life. Like in my dream, they're not like they're like a default character type of base where their hair is like a darker shade and it like they look completely different than how they actually look in my dream. And yet I know exactly who I'm talking to. Like my old friend from like my childhood. I've ran into them multiple times in my dreams at this point. But each time, they've always looked different. They looked nothing like they do in real life, but I knew exactly who I was talking to. Which also goes into the fact of how I know what it's like whenever I switch point of views and I'm talking to myself. Because I'll look at somebody who looks nothing like me, but I know that's me that I'm talking to. And yes, this does get very confusing, especially whenever a dream starts to have a very, very busy plot. Like, for instance, a couple nights ago, I had this dream where I was part of this family. It was me, these two teenagers, I think. The easiest way I could put it was it's the Scooby-Doo gang, but it's not Scooby-Doo at all. Like there's like a small group of like I think 4 to 5 of us, but we are related, but we aren't related, and I don't know. And I don't know if I'm actually me in this dream or if I was somebody else. And with this, I remember we were messing around with a claw machine that had candy in it. And we broke into this candy store place because we decided that's a smart idea. And I remember one of my friends, one of the people I was with, climbed into the claw machine, like through the prize gate, and was just messing around with stuff. And like it opened up at one point, and all I could think about is when the owner gets here, this is probably where one of us is hiding. And so I started messing around and everything, and eventually we somehow ended up outside the candy store, and attached to this candy store was kind of like a small amusement park. But we were on the upper level, and on the upper level there wasn't a lot of stuff to do. But on the bottom level, there was a lot. And so there was people actively at the bottom level, which meant part of this place is open, but this upper part where we are isn't. And so I'm talking with the group of people that I'm with, who at this point I believe I'm still related to. And they're climbing this giant boulder like thing, because why the hell not? And at one point, this toddler pretty much just randomly appears, and it's like on the top of this boulder, like trying to climb. And I'm like, I need to get this child off of this boulder now. And so I climbed up on top of the boulder and I grabbed this child who was actively fighting me to not have me grab it. But I'm like, if I don't grab this child, it's going to fall. So I finally get the child and we climb off the boulder. And I start to walk back to the candy store holding this toddler, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? And as I walked through into the candy store, I know my character switched, even though I'm still holding the toddler. At this point, I am no longer part of a I'm no longer part of that group that I was originally with who broke into this candy store. I was no longer related to them. And so I'm messing around inside the candy store, and the owner comes in. And I know at this point I am the boss's favorite employee. Like, I'm like a co-employee who gets there early and just does everything. And I walked up to the boss and I'm like, hey, yeah, so a couple of these people came in because they were possibly thinking about a job and everything. And I believe they're friends of mine, so I let them in. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I noticed there was a camera, so he could have saw everything that went down. But my brain instantly decided, okay, the camera's there, but we're not going to acknowledge it. And so I'm like, yeah, we found this toddler, and I'm going to possibly, like, keep it with me in case his mother returns. If not, I guess I'm keeping him. As if the child was a stray cat or dog. And I kept up with it. So I walked around, and we started opening up the candy store as more people slowly filled in. And I'm just walking around carrying this child. And that was literally the dream. And that was an example of how I walked through one door while holding something. Nothing in me changed, but I knew my character was different. And like the other people in my dreams responded to it as if I was different. And a lot of the time, I try to think about these plots because when I wake up, it's just that, just absolute chaos. Like, I've had dreams, like one of the earliest dreams I remember, for instance. I had this dream when I was in, I think, preschool or something. And I was at this apartment that I used to live at with my great aunt who used to take me to preschool. And in this dream, I remember I was in the backyard of this apartment, walking down the sidewalk from, like, the back alleyway that we used to walk. And I was walking up to the actual apartment, and on both sides of the sidewalk, in the backyard where there's grass, it slowly turned into a garden. And I feel like it was made out of, like, corn or something, like one of those corn mazes. And I was looking at it, being like, okay, this isn't good. And then eventually, the sidewalk that I was walking on kind of turned into, like, a wave, or, like, a weird... Like, it wasn't solid anymore. If you've ever seen if you look at, like, one of those squish balls where there's, like, Orbeez in them and everything, and, like, you press one of it down and you could see, like, the little wave that it creates where the indent of your finger was the sidewalk. Every step I would take, it would start doing a wave. And I'm like, okay, I need to get to the main area. So I somehow ran to the main platform, and in the middle of this platform, there was the mystery machine. Because, of course, I'm all the way back to Scooby-Doo again. And there was a giant T-Rex, and I'm like, I need to get away from this T-Rex. So what did I do? I climbed under the mystery machine and I hid there. Eventually, I ran into Daphne. And I'm like, oh no. Daphne, I need you to help me get up the stairs so we could get back to the building. And she's like, okay. So I climbed up on her back, and as we were running, I looked behind, back at the sidewalk that I was walking on, And if you've ever saw the really old Woody Woodpecker well, not commercials, but like VHS tapes where he had like the red hair and a blue body, and he did like the little like running thing where he kind of turned into a tornado. That is what was chasing me. And we eventually made it up the stairs into the apartment. And we were looking over the little window area that we had. It was like a little sitting area that was just past the staircase at the top. And I was looking over it, and I just see the rest of the mystery gang just dealing with a T-Rex as Woody Woodpecker just disappeared. And I don't know what happened after that, but that's one of the earliest dreams I remember. And it's just absolutely pure chaos. Other dreams I've had when I was younger was... Well, actually, back to that dream really quick. This is the dream that made me believe in dream catchers, because I remember I was in my parents' room when I had that Woody Woodpecker dream. And I climbed out of bed because I woke up terrified. And my parents were in the living room. And so I walked in and I'm like, I had a really bad dream. And like I walked over to my mother and my mother's like, was it the one with the bird tornado? Because Woody Woodpecker looked like a tornado. And I'm like, how'd you know? And people say I was probably also dreaming this part, but I tend to understand when I'm in a dream and when I'm not in a dream majority of the time, because when I'm in a dream, I feel this aura that I've talked about at the beginning of the episode. And it's just one of those things where, to this day, I believe dream catchers actually work. And so anyway, back to more random dreams. Another early dream I remember was I was in line in heaven, because apparently heaven had a waiting line. And as you got to the front of the line, you got like a prize or something. And for some reason, child me decided Mr. Krabs is ahead of me in line. So eventually we're walking through this line, and he gets to the front, and he got this huge, magnificent prize that like everybody was wanting. And then I walked up and I got a toaster. Literally, that was the dream. I don't remember anything else with that dream but that. And that was one of the weird dreams that always stuck with me. So, yeah, dreams with me are just chaos, because those were when I was a child. And then the one that I told you earlier with the candy store, that one I had literally last night. Wait, it wasn't last night, it was the night before. Anyway, I had it fairly recently. And it's just a reoccurring thing where anytime I try to talk about my dreams, people just look at me being like, what the hell did you take before you went to bed? Because this is not normal. And I'm just like, if you take every hallucinating thing and took it all at once, you would get partly of what my dreams could be, because they're that chaotic. And like at one point, I remember for my psychology class back in 10th grade, we had to do dream journals. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun. That night I had a really, really chaotic dream, and so I started writing it down in my dream journal. It took me 3+ pages to write down this entire dream, while also eliminating a solid fourth of the dream due to just situations and knowing I can't talk about everything in a school homework assignment that happened in my dreams because they're so chaotic. And it's just one of those things where I never understood, like, what happens with them. And each night, it only gets weirder. The nights where I don't remember my dreams are sometimes tame, because that's very rare that happens. It's happening more or less as time goes on, but still, those are some of the dreams that I'm very curious what happened to. And so anyway, I'm going to end this episode here. Well, thank you for listening to episode 1 of Late Night Ramblings. This one was all about dreams.